I found that nothing in life is worthwhile unless you take risks. Nothing. Nelson Mandela said, "There is no passion to be found playing small and settling for a life that's less than the one you're capable of living." Now, I'm sure in your experiences in school and applying to college and picking your major and deciding what you want to do with life, I'm sure people have told you to make sure you have something to fall back on. Make sure you got something to fall back on, honey. But I never understood that concept, having something to fall back on. If I'm going to fall, I don't want to fall back on anything. I want to fall forward. I figure at least this way I'll see what I'm going to hit. Without consistency, you'll never finish. So do what you feel passionate about. Take chances. Don't be afraid to fail. There's an old IQ test, was 9 dots, and you had to draw 5 lines with a pencil within these 9 dots without lifting the pencil. The only way to do it was to go outside the box. Don't be afraid to think outside the box. Don't be afraid to fail big, to dream big. But remember, dreams without goals are just dreams.
Question: would you build a website for a major brand with more than 200 million users using Wix? Well, we did.
Hi, I'm Sivana. I'm an R&D manager here at Wix. Today, I want to show you how we use our own platform, creating...
Reggie Jackson struck out 2,600 times in his career, the most in the history of baseball. But you don't hear about the strikeouts. People remember the home runs. Fall forward. Thomas Edison conducted 1,000 failed experiments. Did you know that? I didn't know that. Because the 1,001st was the light bulb. Fall forward. Every failed experiment is one step closer to success. You've got to take risks, and I'm sure you've probably heard that before, but I want to talk to you about why that's so important. You will fail at some point in your life. Accept it. You will lose. You will embarrass yourself. You will suck at something. There's no doubt about it. And I know that's probably not a traditional message for a graduation ceremony, but hey, I'm telling you, embrace it because it's inevitable. In the acting business, you fail all the time. Early on in my career, I auditioned for a part in a Broadway musical. Perfect role for me, I thought, except for the fact that I can't sing. I didn't get the job. But here's the thing. I didn't quit. I didn't fall back. I walked out of there to prepare for the next audition, and the next audition, and the next audition. I prayed. I prayed, and I prayed. But I continued to fail, and fail, and fail. But it didn't matter, because you know what? There's an old saying, you hang around the barbershop long enough, sooner or later you're going to get a haircut. So you will catch a break, and I did catch a break. Last year, I did a play called Fences on Broadway. But here's the kicker. It was at the Court Theater. It was at the same theater that I failed that first audition 30 years prior. The point is, every graduate here today has the training and the talent to succeed. But do you have the guts to fail? If you don't fail, you're not even trying. I'll say it again. If you don't fail, you're not even trying. To get something you never had, you have to do something you never did. So imagine you're on your deathbed, and standing around your deathbed are the ghosts representing your unfulfilled potential. The ghost of the ideas
Then what about the moment when you actually
you never acted on. The ghost of the talents you didn't use. And they're standing around your bed, angry, disappointed, and upset. They say, we came to you because you could have brought us to life, they say. And now we have to go to the grave together. So I ask you today, how many ghosts are going to be around your bed when your time comes? I just got back from South Africa. It's a beautiful country, but there are places there with terrible poverty that need help. And Africa is just the tip of the iceberg. The Middle East needs your help. Japan needs your help. Alabama needs your help. Tennessee needs your help. Louisiana needs your help. Philadelphia needs your help. The world needs a lot, and we need it from you. We really do. We need it from you young people. I mean, I'm not speaking for the rest of us up here, but I know I'm getting a little grayer. We need it from you, the young people, because remember this. You got to get out there. You got to give it everything you got, whether it's your time, your talent, your prayers, or your treasures. What are you going to do with what you have? I'm not talking about how much you have. Some of you are business majors. Some of you are theologians, nurses, sociologists. Some of you have money. Some of you have patience. Some of you have kindness. Some of you have love. Some of you have the gift of long suffering. Whatever it is, whatever your gift is, what are you going to do with what you have? All right, now here's my last point about failure. Sometimes it's the best way to figure out where you're going. Your life will never be a straight path. I began at Fordham University as a pre-med student. I took a course called cardiac morphogenesis. I couldn't read it, I couldn't say it, I sure couldn't pass it. So then I decided to go into pre-law, then journalism. And with no academic focus, my grades took off in their own direction. I was a 1.8 GPA. And the university very politely suggested that it might be better to take some time off. I was 20 years old. I was at my lowest point. And then one day, and I remember the exact day, March 27th, 1975, I was helping my mother in her beauty shop. My mother owned a beauty shop up in Mount Vernon. And there was this older woman who was considered one of the elders in the town. And I didn't know her personally.
These are amazing.
Wow, that's good.
Wow, these are good.
It's delicious.
What if I told you that you could get your daily dosage of greens with this one packet of greens?
But I was looking in the mirror, and every time I looked at the mirror, I could see her behind me, and she was staring at me. She just kept looking at me. Every time I looked at her, she kept giving me these strange looks. So she finally took the dryer off her head and said something I'll never forget. She said, "Young boy, I have a prophecy, a spiritual prophecy." She said, "You are going to travel the world and speak to millions of people." And in the years that followed, just as that woman prophesied, I have traveled the world and I have spoken to millions of people through my movies. Millions who up till this day couldn't see me, who up till this day I couldn't see while I was talking to them, and they couldn't see me. They could only see the movie. They couldn't see the real me. But I see you today, and I'm encouraged by what I see. And I'm strengthened by what I see. Because taking risk is not just about going for a job. It's also about knowing what you know and what you don't know. It's about being open to people and to ideas. The chances you take, the people you meet, the people you love, the faith that you have, that's what's going to define you. Never be discouraged. Never hold back. Give everything you got. And when you fall throughout life, remember this: fall forward.
Y'all been wondering, y'all been waiting. What are Jake and Eric up to? There's no football. They don't got nothing to talk about. We got a draft tomorrow, though, ladies and gentlemen. And we're down to break this. We're here to break this down. And no better person to join me today is Eric. It's mock draft Wednesday, baby. We're here. Sorry for the technical difficulties. It took a time or two to get into the YouTube, and the kids was, not cooperating with Daddy. But we're here. How you doing, E?
What's going on, bud?
Not
Christmas
much.
Eve.
It is Christmas Eve, my birthday, 4th of July, all of it put together, right? But this is exciting. Funny story before we start. I lost all my notes, so we're going straight freestyle. But we can handle this, and we can do it. I'm gonna try and pull up the simulator so we can kind of get the we don't lose a pick or whatnot. But I know you are always good with that pen and paper, and you're gonna
Come on, buddy.
sir.
Come
Yes,
on, buddy.
sir. Yes. So can y'all see that? I think you should be able to. So we're good to go. I'm excited. Today has been one of them days where there's lots of, rumblings and news, and it's kind of hard to sift through. I try and stay away from it as long as possible, but today is like a really hard day because that's all they're literally talking about. I try to have my own process, but also, have a feel of what these teams are doing. Because at the end of the day, this project is to guess what these NFL GMs and owners and coaches are going to do tomorrow night. We're not, we'll break down what we would do, but we're not here to pick for these teams. We're actually trying to predict what these teams are going to do tomorrow night. And, I thought I had it easy with number 2. You have it very easy. I mean, we already know what it's going to be. We can kind of talk about the number 1 overall pick and what Chicago did, but I'll get into my story when we get there. But what do you think about the Bears offseason so far? They get Keenan Allen, they trade Justin Fields to the Steelers, and obviously it's consensus who they're going to go with. I don't think that they're going to go astray from this pick, but how do you feel about the Bears offseason so far?
I think they're doing all the right things. I think the best case was to rid themselves of Justin Fields. I know the fans were kind of split on that, but I think it was better to just kind of wash their hands clean of that. And then they made some good moves. Keenan Allen, like you mentioned, I think bringing Swift in, he's a great running back. So I think they're setting themselves up for a lot of excitement for their fans, a lot of positivity heading into the season. So if you're a Bears fan, I don't think you can be disappointed with what they've done at all.
Yeah, and then I like Roschon Johnson, the backup to Bijan at Texas last year. I also didn't they get Darnell Wright, the tackle from Tennessee last year? So they had a really good draft last year. If they could, finish, put something together this draft, which you're going to have their pick here in like a half hour or so. I would assume at number 9 with because this isn't even actually their pick. This should be Carolina's, but obviously the Panthers traded up to get Bryce Young last year. We've kind of seen how that's gone. But without further ado, Eric, you were on the clock, and who are the Bears going to select?
Well, and before we start, I was looking at our picks, and of course, we do it every year. We alternate odds and evens. So this year, of course, I've got the odd picks. Jacob's got the evens. And looking at it, I've got the entire NFC North, and you've got the entire NFC East this year with our picks. So
Correct. I'm actually glad that you brought that up because those are two things I noticed. I didn't actually notice the North, but that is very true. You have most of the teams that have 2 picks. I think there's one team that has 2 picks that I have one of the picks. And then if you kind of look at it, if I'm going to be honest, Eric, like you have all the picks that I don't want. I don't want number 3. 7 should be somewhat easy. 15, I don't really know. 11, I do not want that pick because they're not even going to stay there. But I have all of my teams. I got the New Orleans Saints, I got the Seahawks, I got the Bengals, I got the Cowboys. Like literally, all the teams. The Ravens are on there, and then of course I got the Super Bowl champs. But the pick I probably am least looking forward to picking is probably 28. I don't really want to pick for Buffalo, but it is what it is. So I'm glad that you brought that up. And then one other note, I think this is the first time that we will have a Rams pick in a Baboorian Boutte mock draft since the first one, maybe not the first one, but it's been a while. I believe the Jared Goff draft was the last time they had a first round pick. I could be wrong on that, but we usually don't pick for the Rams because they're always, selling the farm so they can win that Super Bowl. But yeah, this is very interesting, just the way that it landed out. And yeah, I'm glad that you got the number 1 overall pick and odds this year.
well, and with that number 1 pick, it's going to be no surprise. It's Caleb Williams. I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on that. He's the best prospect from just a raw talent standpoint, regardless of what you thought about the tape. He may not have been the best quarterback in college this year, but just the physical skill set, the Mahomes comps, the raw ability comps. I don't think it's really worth discussing any further. They're going to take Caleb Williams, and then the draft's going to start at number 2.
Yeah, I kind of laugh with the Mahomes comparisons. Like, you can't really compare a college kid to Mahomes. I mean, maybe when he was coming out, he's like Mahomes. I don't see that though. I mean, other guys do that. Obviously, might be a little bit smarter than me, or they just know people and have a job. But are you a big Caleb guy? I don't think that you are necessarily. I obviously, I'm not big on Caleb, but are you as high as the rest of the football world is?
Well, I think from a talent standpoint and from a raw ability standpoint, I think he's awesome, and I think he's got everything that you want, your NFL quarterback to have. My problem, I kind of compared him to Kyler Murray. You watch these games, and when they're losing, when things aren't going well, the body language stuff, the sideline stuff, the leadership stuff, I don't love that from Caleb Williams. I'm not really going to bitch about him crying, in the stands or whatever with his mom. That is what it is. But just the leadership stuff, which I think is so important in the NFL when you're commanding these grown men and in these locker rooms, that concerns me a little bit. But just from a raw ability standpoint, I think he's a great prospect, and I think he should do well. I just am a little worried about kind of how high that ceiling is going to go.
Well, yeah, you bring up some great points because everyone could have the arm strength or the talent or whatnot to be a quarterback. But at the end of the day, you have to command that huddle and have to have all other 10 guys, on the same page as you and being able to listen to you and for you to be able to build them up and to, go out there and ball out. So I think that is one thing that Patrick Mahomes does have. He's a likable guy, even though we don't like him or I don't like him. But he's a likable guy in the locker room and in the huddle, and you got to command that huddle. And that will be the big question mark, regarding Caleb Williams moving to the next level. And, this team is kind of young and kind of, they're gritty and they haven't been there. So they're hungry. They want to get there. But is Caleb the guy to do it? I don't know. This division is tough. And I know you got the rest of the division, so we can go through those teams when we get there. But the Redskins here are on the clock. As you know, this is the Baboorian Boutte's favorite team here, the Washington Redskins. We love to talk about these guys and just how amazing they are. All jokes aside, though, I think for a few weeks now, Jaden Daniels has been the pick here. Everyone kind of assuming that it's going to be the LSU quarterback. Now, there's been rumblings the last few days or whatnot that he doesn't like the staff there, and the meeting went good, but they invited so many guys to the visit. I believe it was 22 guys there that the Redskins had brought in, and they met with 4 of these quarterbacks. And Jaden wasn't necessarily expecting all of those guys. He thought he was going to get kind of pampered and get to, be with Adam Peters and the new head coach, Dan Quinn, and kind of talk with Cliff Kingsbury and all that kind of thing. So I'm actually have no idea what I'm going to do right here, Eric. I still really don't know what I'm going to do with the pick, because I could go with the chalk and, go Jaden Daniels, but then I also could go another way. And if I go this other way, I mean, it kind of scares me, just because this guy, either he could go in the next couple picks, or he might not even go at all until later on. It could be kind of a Will Levis thing. So I'm not really sure what to do with the Redskins. They brought in Antonio Gibson. They also brought in the wide receiver that's a nobody, because I forgot his name. See, that's where I need my notes from. But as far as the Redskins, obviously, I talked about their new regime, bringing Dan Quinn, and Cliff Kingsbury is going to be the OC there, and they got Adam Peters, who's the new general manager, and obviously the new ownership and stuff too. So, what are your thoughts here with the Redskins offseason?
So, just looking at the depth chart, so Austin Eckler is an addition to the team. Zach Ertz, I know he's kind of being aged out, but he's an addition to the offense. So they did add a couple pieces. They've got McLaurin. Jahan Dotson, Jamison Crowder is back in the wide receiver room as a wide receiver 3. They're definitely going to take a quarterback here. I think it's the Daniels versus Drake May debate here at this pick. Thinking about Drake May, funny, would they dare take another UNC quarterback, right after kind of what they've just went through. So, yeah, I think you're –
it's funny. So it's not even Drake. It's actually JJ McCarthy is the guy that I'm debating, because I have heard that they really, really do like JJ McCarthy, and they actually have him graded higher than Drake May. So it's all, if the Jaden smoke is real, and if they're just going to go and get their guy in Jaden Daniels, or if they actually will, which I think would shock the football world. I don't think JJ should go to, but I have heard some very smart people say that he could. But yeah, I mean, I feel bad for Jaden, because he's my LSU Tigers and whatnot. But he's going to go to a decent situation, but it's also I don't know. It's the Redskins, man. Who wants to be the quarterback for the Redskins? This isn't 1980 anymore, and it's just you got the Cowboys and the Eagles to look up to. It's just not fun. So without further ado, the Washington Redskins select quarterback, Louisiana State University, Jaden Daniels.
That's the right pick. All signs are pointing towards that, and I think it's, in terms of a mock goes, it's probably the safest for us in terms of how the rest of the board is going to land. We can talk about JJ when we get to him. I've got some thoughts on that.
If we do, I mean, this guy, but yeah, I'm sure we will, but we'll see.
All right, so the new regime, Bill Belichick-less, Gerard Mayo, New England Patriots.
I mean, before you start, this is the worst roster in the league, right?
It's not great.
Yeah,
It's not a great roster. But hey, there's maybe some room for optimism here. They do have Jacoby Brissett as their current QB1. He will likely start the season because they're going to take Drake May, who I think is going to be kind of he'll get some Josh Allen comps, especially on draft day. He's big. He's raw. He had a shitty offensive line. He had some diminishing talent at UNC. So you're going to get all those similar comps, and you're just betting on the upside, betting on the raw talent. And hopefully for Drake May, who I think he's got a lot of good ability. I think that, him sitting a year under Jacoby or sitting a half a year is going to do him a lot of good. Hopefully the Patriots, if you're a Patriots fan, they're going to retool kind of with their other offensive weapons like they haven't for the past couple of years and set him up for some success. But it's going to be Drake May here at number 3 for the Patriots.
Yeah, I like that for Gerard Mayo, the new head coach there. I'm not a big May guy. I think I'm lower on these quarterbacks than the rest of the football world. But, I mean, he does have the arm talent, and, he did start, was it all 4 years at North Carolina? I mean, I know he has quite a few starts at North Carolina, more than a lot of these guys. But yeah, it'll be interesting what they kind of put around Drake May. And I do agree with you that he's not going to start right away. I actually do like that you made that pick, because I haven't heard a lot about Drake May, and that actually is probably good news, right? During this week or the last couple of weeks, you'll hear guys' names that their agents are kind of putting things out there to kind of get buzz around them. But if you're not hearing a guy's name, it's probably because the team really, really likes him and doesn't really want to get his name out there because they want him to themselves. So I like this for the Patriots. I know they're gonna, listen to that phone and answer phone calls all night long until they're on the clock, and probably will be sitting there, and they'll be, it'll go. The time will go off. The Patriots pick will be in, or they'll make a trade. I think Robert Kraft and the company will use all the time there, and take all the trade offers that they possibly can. And it actually also really depends on what happens at 2, right? And how people also feel about these other quarterbacks. So, like that pick there, is he the next Tom Brady? No, I don't think so. Could they go JJ McCarthy because Robert sees JJ and Tom? I don't know. Arizona Cardinals. Is this going to be more chalk? Now, he's not necessarily my number 1 wide receiver in this class. But Marvin Harrison Jr. is a baller. He is a dog, and I'm just going to continue with the chalk here. And without further ado, just get this thing rolling so we can get on to my second favorite team in the league. But yeah, the Chargers are coming up, and we're going to go with Marvin Harrison Jr. for the Arizona Cardinals.
Yeah, not much to really discuss here. He's the kind of the consensus number 1 wide receiver in the class. He's big, he's strong, he checks all the boxes. Arizona needs playmakers. They're going to give it one more go with Kyler, so you're going to take the best skill position player on most people's board here at 4, and I don't think anyone should really have a problem with it.
And this all go ahead.
No.
Yeah, this all works out for Arizona because I'm pretty sure most of us were mocking last year's draft. We're mocking Arizona to have the number 1 overall pick, and what are they going to do? Go Caleb Williams and have Kyler Murray? But this works out. They get the best offensive player, or like you said, skill position player in the draft for most people, in the receiver that they could have got at 1, if it's him or Caleb, right? They might have just drafted Marvin Harrison at 1 if they would have the pick. So it works out for them. And, Kyler actually did show signs last year where he can play under center and can run that play action offense. So kind of going back to Caleb, that's why I worry about getting to this Cliff Kingsbury offense. Like, is he going to or going from Lincoln Riley to Cliff Kingsbury, like, is it going to be it'll be weird for him, but it might not be as weird as going from a college style offense to a pro style offense, because Cliff does kind of run that it does run that. I messed that all up, but it's okay. Cliff Kingsbury is in Washington. I'm so sorry. It's all good though. We're going to continue to the Los Angeles Chargers. Go ahead, Eric.
So Chargers, it's we've got another new regime with your boy Jim Harbaugh, fresh off of a national championship with Michigan, now taking the reins with the Chargers. This pick could go a lot of different ways. I know a lot of people are wanting them. They're looking at the depth chart. They're saying, all right, Keenan Allen's gone. They're looking at this wide receiver room of Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnson, Darius Davis. That's not great if you're Justin Herbert. But this wide receiver class is really, really deep. There's going to be a lot of 2nd and 3rd round guys that I think are going to turn out to be pretty good. And if you look at, what Jim Harbaugh wants to do, what he did at Michigan, I heard someone talking about it, kind of what he did at Stanford. So he comes into Stanford, right? He's going to be facing this high-powered USC offense. He's going to be facing Chip Kelly. He's got this Stanford team, and he's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to be physical. I'm going to run the ball. I'm going to be nasty up front. And the Chargers offensive line is also in need of them. And I think if you're Jim, you got to start setting the tone here in the AFC West and get nasty. So I'm going to have them taking just the biggest, nastiest dude. They have a new GM who comes from the Ravens, Eric DeCosta tree. They love linemen. They love Alabama players. I'm going to have them taking J.C. Latham, 6'6", 6'7", 360, just nasty dude. And he's going to start setting the tone for the new era of Chargers football.
Awesome. I love that. I love that pick for them, going with the tackle from Alabama, like you said, from the Power 5 school. I thought you were going to go somewhere else, but I do like that pick. And all jokes aside, I think the Chargers are actually going to be for real next year. I don't like Justin, but I think Harbaugh is going to, like you said, just pound the rock, control the game and have a good defense, and maybe he'll get his running back from Michigan too. I've heard about that since they let Austin Eckler go to free agency. But I love that pick. It might be a little early for JC. It might not be, everyone's number one tackle, but it is a big body that you can plug and play day one. And Alabama, they practice during practice. They let their guys, play all positions. So JC could play guard if you need to. He could play right tackle, left tackle. So wherever the Chargers need to plug him in, they can. So I love that. You always got to protect your franchise quarterback in Justin T. Herbert. So great pick there for the Chargers. And the Giants are next up on the clock. Still got Daniel Jones under contract. I believe the money is all gone after next year, if I'm not mistaken. So they could be in the quarterback team right here. Or before I jump to New York, LA could be one of the teams that kind of trades down for one of these QB hungry teams and still gets JC later on in the draft too. So that's why I kind of like that. But the Giants, they have tons of holes here. Their defense is terrible. They have no receivers. They need an offensive line. Like I said before, their quarterback is Daniel Jones. What more do you want me to say? I mean,
I love it.
I don't like the guy. Yeah, he's just terrible, right? But what better to kind of help the quarterback? And I think this position almost helps any other position more, not offensive line, but any other position will help this team. And that's wide receiver. And why not go back to the well, where you got Odell Beckham, and go wide receiver, Louisiana State, Malik Neighbors. He is my number one wide receiver too. This kid just does everything. I don't want to say he's Jamar Chase, but he's very, very, very close to Jamar Chase. This kid helped Jay Daniels get the Heisman Trophy, caught everything. This yak is amazing. He could run every route. He's quick. He's fast. I love this kid, and it makes me sad that he's going to go to the New York Giants.
Well, it's funny. LSU is a funny team. I mean, their offensive production and their numbers were like historic level. They lost a couple of games that should have lost.
Their defense was also historically bad, but yes, sorry.
It was so bad, but yeah, I mean, you're drafting from wide receiver We've seen kind of historically you don't really go wrong when you take some of these guys. I don't know what it is about the kids down there or what's in the water in Louisiana, but these kids come to play when they get to the league. So I like the pick in general. I don't like it, because obviously we're not rooting for the Giants here on this pod. But, they may probably be given one final hoorah with Daniel Jones. Maybe they pick up a later quarterback, or if a guy like Nix or Penix ends up dropping in the second round, who knows where they go. But Daniel Jones is probably getting one final go at it. But, if they're going to let him, if they're going to see what they got, you might as well surround him with some talent. So I don't hate the pick there for the Giants.
Yeah, I was debating going, offensive line to help protect him, but he just needs weapons. That receiving core, I can't even name those guys. Sterling Shepard. I mean, come on now. Like, what? No. So the Tennessee Titans here at 7, who also I've heard are taking calls to trade down. Everyone wants to trade down, Eric, but the thing about trading down, you got to find someone who wants to come up. That's the hardest part.
It's tough, and here you're really searching for, is there a team that's nervous that, Atlanta, that Chicago, that the Jets are I don't know if any of these teams are not taking quarterbacks. So are you getting calls if you're the Titans? It's just going to depend on obviously how the board falls.
I think it's 11 and 13, probably the Vikings and the Vegas, but Vegas might not. They might just hang out. Just wait until someone falls to them. But I think Minnesota's probably trying to come up.
Minnesota's probably making calls. But
and
if
they have the ammo too.
They do. Tennessee here picking at 7. Again, I think this is another team that kind of needs to get back to their roots. You look at their depth chart, their offensive line is just a disaster right now. Tony Pollard comes in, Henry goes out, Calvin Ridley comes in, Treylon Burks. They're hoping to get some good things out of this year. They're going to give Will Levis another shot. And if you're going to do that, if you're going to kind of put your faith in this kid for this year, you're going to have to give him something to work with offensive line-wise. I'm going to have them take my boy out of Notre Dame, Joe Alt, kind of a good, clean, safe pick here to start shoring up that offensive line.
I love that. What did I do? Oh, I went back. I lost. Oh, it's on this one. All right. I'll put it back up after my pick. But so we have the Falcons here up next, and they obviously have the big trade of bringing Kirk Cousins in, and they're a funny team because they don't really have too many needs. I guess they could use a defensive lineman and maybe a corner. I see lots of people going with a certain player here, which I'm not going to go with that certain player. I'm going to kind of change it up. I see a lot of people going Dallas Turner, edge from Alabama, but I'm actually going to go defensive tackle, Texas, Byron Murphy here with the Falcons at number 8.
I don't hate that, and remember Arthur Smith, who should have never been the head coach of that team, is gone. Raheem Morris in, defensive guy.
Yes.
I mean, if we take a peek at their roster, I mean, yeah, their defensive line, Grady Jarrett is still there, but he's not getting any younger, and the talent is just not there. The offensive weapons are there, but I think we've talked about there's a lot of depth in this class. So if you're the Falcons, you know, get your number one guy on your board. There's been no defensive players in our mock yet, so this is number one.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, go get your guy. Start setting the tone for the Raheem Morris, defensive era here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you brought up the Raheem Morris too, because they did get the new head coach, and I actually like that for the Falcons and for Kirk Cousins too, to kind of have a defensive minded coach. He's a smart guy, and as long as Raheem, surrounds them with smart coaches, I think they will be good there. The South is going to be interesting with all these teams being so bad last year, and Tampa sneaking into getting the playoff spot. It'll be interesting, how that division shakes out with Kirk Cousins there, and then who knows what the New Orleans Saints are going to do. So it'll be a fun division for sure. And next up on the clock is the Bears here with their second pick in the first round already. They went Caleb Williams. So who are they going to pair up with Caleb Williams?
Pair up with Caleb Williams. I think you're alluding to something here on the offensive side of the ball. I could really see them thinking long and hard, especially if this board is falling the way it is. There's going to be a lot of defensive guys that are sitting out here probably at the top of their board. But the defensive class is just not that strong, and there's so many offensive weapons up sitting here. And again, if you're the Bears, man, that offense has been such a dud. You're bringing in Caleb Williams. You've got some good skill guys. A lot of people kind of look at rosters and they say, we've got a strength here, so let's focus on a weakness. But I think we've also seen when you focus on like building strength on your strengths, kind of making your strong points even stronger, that ends up being a real benefit here in the league. Teams that continue to draft offensive linemen, even when they've got a good offensive line, putting good skill guys in the room, even though you've got DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. So I think I'm going to take your boy here, Rome Odunze here. A good little wide receiver 3, wide receiver 2. They love him, is what you're hearing out of Chicago. The kid's awesome. Just throw on some of those games versus Oregon, the game versus Texas. The kid's awesome. He's going to be great for Caleb Williams. And I think if you're the Bears fans, you are just over the moon at these first 2 picks for the 2024 draft.
Yeah, I love that for Chicago. They actually were playing catch. I don't know if you know that, but Caleb and Rome were playing catch the other day. So, they're already trying to get it together. This was a great Washington team. Obviously, we saw them lose in the national championship game to Michigan, but it was a weird game. But, yeah, Rome Odunze is a big part of why Washington was there and, what helped Michael Penix kind of break out and show the world what he is. But I love that pick. Even though you have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen, you can never have enough wide receivers in today's NFL. So that offense is going to be fun if Caleb, could keep it together and get those guys on the same page. That offense is going to be really fun. Speaking of offense, that could be fun if they, continue this trend here. Eric, I don't know if you know, but the most offensive players drafted in a draft is 18, maybe it's 19. I want to say it's 19, so we could get really, really close. We'll see at the end of this if we break that record, and we'll see obviously tomorrow if we break that record. But I think we will with, if we get 5 of these quarterbacks, all these offensive line, and then all these receivers go to. I think we definitely could get really, really close to the record. But keeping an offense, every quarterback loves a tight end, so why not go get the greatest tight end prospect ever? He might not be that big tight end. He might not be the tight end that can block, or you're going to use for blocking, but we don't have tight ends that block anymore, Eric. This is the 2024 NFL. We pass to our tight ends. We want Travis Kelce, we want Sam Laporta, we want guys like that. So Brock Bowers, tight end, University of Georgia, goes to the New York Jets. And I know this is looking so chalky, but it's all going to work out one way or the other.
Yeah, I don't know what it is about watching Brock Bowers. I just can't get there with that guy, and I might be the only one that thinks so. I don't know what it is. I don't know if he just looks like he's like a future CPA. I don't know if it's just the way he runs or his stature, what it is. But I mean, the kid's a baller. The kid's been in a winning locker room. He's been a contributor to a national championship team and some really good runs. He's really good at getting open, and I think in today's game, where so many of these teams are dropping back, playing zone, you want tight ends that are seeing the field, being really smart. I mean, Travis Kelce can barely move, and that guy's being productive because he's just so good at finding open space. And if you're the Jets, you're giving it one last push with Aaron Rodgers. Hopefully, he doesn't blow out his Achilles in the third play of the game season. This year. And if you're going to give it one final push, you're going to need to surround him with some weapons. So Brock Bowers, I think, is a really good pick here for the Jets.
Yeah, they picked up Mike Williams also in the offseason. They got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall in the backfield. So this offense, will be fun. Yeah, the Minnesota Vikings are on the clock now. I wonder if they'll stay at 11. Before you make the pick and talk about it, do you think they'll stay at 11 tomorrow, or are they traded up?
Well, I think if you're Washington and if you're New England and you're getting calls from Minnesota, I'm asking for a lot because you're going from 11 to 2 or 3. I'm asking for a lot. And it's, is Minnesota willing to give up 2, 3 first-round picks in the future, or 2 first rounds plus this, number 11? They've got pick number 23. So it depends. Does a Washington or New England care about this year, or do they want future first? It's really tough to say, but I think Minnesota is going to definitely be on the phone tomorrow.
Yeah, and they have a lot of needs too. So I've heard they want to use one of those picks. So if they do trade up, they don't want to trade with both of those picks. But whatever happens could happen tomorrow. But so they do want to make a pick tomorrow just because of all the needs they have, not including quarterback.
Well, the pick here is one that I am still trying to understand. In what world does anyone think that J.J. McCarthy should be a first-round pick, is going to be a franchise quarterback? I don't see it when I watch it. I've never seen it. I don't think they had to ask him to do anything at Michigan. I don't think he's got any of the raw tools that you want. I am totally blown away that this guy's going to be a first-round pick, and yet here we are at number 11. J.J. freaking McCarthy's going to be the pick for the Vikings, and it makes no sense. And my hands are up, and I don't know.
Yeah, I don't get it either. But they say, Eric, he can do those things, right? But Jim Harbaugh doesn't. So, I was going to bring this up earlier, but I just waited until this man got brought up because, you were correct about Stanford and the way that they played. But there was, for a little while there, he wasn't playing like that. Do you remember when that was?
Oh,
The Andrew Luck era. Yeah, so, if you have this first-round quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, why not play him like Andrew Luck? It's it don't make sense to me, but that's why he gets paid the big bucks. So JJ McCarthy is the pick there at 11 for the Vikings, and the Denver Broncos are on the clock here at 12. Also with lots of needs, they traded Russell Wilson to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh just wants all of these washed up quarterbacks, I guess. Right. Go Hawks. But similar to Minnesota, Denver has lots of needs also outside of quarterback. So I think that they are actually going to go with their best defensive player on the board. And I'm not going to be the one to tell you who it is, but with Dallas Turner falling here, I think Dallas Turner fits very well in Denver. And, plug and play at edge, and he's going to be a great pass rusher for the Broncos and Sean Payton. That defense was terrible last year, so they definitely need help on defense. So we'll go edge, Alabama, Dallas Turner.
I don't hate that at all. I know Bo Nix is like the hot name to be linked. Again, I just can't believe it.
I really think they could just get him in the second round, right? Or come back late in the first. I don't think they need to spend a top 15 pick on Bo Nix, but
no, and
there's just no ceiling there, right? I don't see the ceiling. Like he could be a solid player, but if you're gonna go quarterback, there go Michael Penix, in my opinion. But yeah,
I mean, Bo Nix is fifth year guy. He's finally kind of hitting his stride when he's, a super senior.
Well, yeah, they talk about Michael being old, but I'm pretty sure Bo Nix is like 3 or 4 months older than him. So, yeah, he might not have the injury history Michael does, but he doesn't have the ceiling either. So, yeah, I don't get the Bo Nix, and it's just probably people trying to put him with Sean Payton and try and, I don't know, the next Drew Brees or whatnot, because he is undersized too a little bit, correct? Not as Drew, but he is short, yeah. This is a fun pick, though. Yeah, I like this one.
Your old Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I want to see what your Vegas Raiders do. I know Ryan in the chat is interested to hear your thoughts on this.
So they're a weird team, and I know, again, like offense is like the theme here. A lot of people are thinking, are they a trade contender? Are they making calls on draft day? Are they trying to moving up from 13 all the way up to get one of those top tier guys is really, really tough unless you're giving up a lot of capital. Their roster is bad. I mean, they're going to be starting their running backs, Zamir White and Alexander Madison. That's awful. An aging Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, Trey Tucker is their wide receiver 3. I know they've got my boy Michael Mayer. I think the offensive line is a little bit of a mess. Their defense, outside of Crosby, is kind of a mess. So I think they're probably in a position, honestly, to kind of go best player on the board. I'm gonna go Quinion Mitchell, DB at Toledo. I think, again, you're playing in a division where you've got a lot of offensive firepower. You're going to want shutdown corners. This team is just so bad. I think you just want kind of elite talent. I think he's really, really good. I think they may wait next year on the quarterback situation. And plus, I mean, is no one talking about, we've got the Gardy Party Minshew Mania in Vegas this year. So, let's ride. Let's have some fun and then address the QB situation later. But Mitchell is the pick here for the Raiders.
Yeah, I love that. Quinton Mitchell is my number 1 rated corner. I love him over the Alabama guy. This dude had 2 pick sixes in the same game and just a 4 pick game, and this just ridiculous. So I love this pick here for Vegas. It's going to help Max out a lot as a good shutdown corner. Those guys will get along real well if things work out. And yeah, I'm excited for Gardner Minshew in Vegas. I think things could be fun. They're not going to probably win the West next year, but just get a new team and Antonio Pierce go defense here. I love that. Speaking of Antonio Pierce, I love that they gave him that job. So good for the Raiders here, going defense. We got the New Orleans Saints here on the clock, who could be looking for a quarterback, and they have Derek Carr, but what do they do with that? They might need another receiver to put next to Garrett Wilson. Is there one rated this high? They really need a tackle, though, because Trevor Penny is not it, who was a first-round pick of theirs a few years ago. So I'm going to need Eric's help with this, but I'm going to have them go to Talise Fagu, Oregon State's tackle.
Fuaga, yeah, I think Fuaga is the.
There it is. Yes, that is how it is. Yes, but yeah, I just think that they need to probably go, best player available on the offensive side. They could use some help on defense too, but I think it's either receiver or offensive lineman here, and I like Fuaga for the New Orleans Saints at 14.
Yeah, this is another kind of team that's in like a weird, almost like purgatory year. They've got some good weapons. You love Olave. Kamara still producing at a high level. People are kind of split on Carr. Their defense is kind of all over the place. They're kind of in this weird purgatory, but their division's really bad. So, I think they're heading into this year. You should be optimistic as a Saints fan. And you just really need to kind of nail this pick if you're them. So I think staying safe with kind of a high floor pick, offensive lineman. I know we've talked about it all the time. Like I love offensive lineman picks. I didn't like them when I was younger, when my team would draft an offensive lineman. Like, really? Like I want the wide receiver, want the running backs, but these picks end up kind of panning out. So I like that pick there for the Saints.
Especially first round offensive linemen
Right.
too. I saw a sheet the other day where it was hit or miss. They based it off of if the 5th-year contract was accepted or whatnot, and offensive lineman was one of the bigger hits in the first round. So but yeah, the Colts here up at 15. Who probably don't need too much offensive line help. They more need some defensive help and maybe a receiver to complement Pittman. But what are the Colts going to do here?
So the board is falling really, really favorable if you're looking to pick up some good corners, depending on how you feel. I mean, they've got Kenny Moore, Blackman at safety. I think they've got some decent pieces. Their defensive line's okay. I really think, though, again, you've got Anthony Richardson. You've got this young quarterback coming in. I think it's truly a disservice if you're going to roll him out as your franchise guy, not to put weapons around him. And I really don't think that they should take this guy here. But we're not doing what we think. We're doing what we think they're going to do. And there's been some rumblings recently that they've got a need for speed. And Xavier Worthy's really, really fast. He's so fast, actually, Jacob, that he's the fastest guy that's ever run a 40-yard dash. That's what they're going to take here at 15. They're going to take Xavier Worthy.
Yeah, I like that. And I have heard lots and lots of Xavier Worthy love, not just because of the 40. Where does PFF have him? Oh, my gosh. What in the world? These guys. I wish I could just put my own ranks in there. God.
You might have to keep
69. Like, okay. I love that pick, though. I mean, you got Anthony Richardson, they got Xavier Worthy. Like, that is lethal. That's fun. I know lots of people want him to go to, either Kansas City or maybe Baltimore or Buffalo or something. But no, let him go to Indy, be with the young buck, the new sheriff in town there in Indianapolis with Anthony Richardson. I love that pick, Eric. I had no idea that you were going there, but yeah, I love that for the Colts. So 16, we got my Seattle Seahawks with a new head coach, Mike McDonald, and they got offensive coordinator from the University of Washington, who will be very familiar with this pick. But Ben Grubbs is their offensive coordinator. We're pretty sure took the Alabama offensive coordinator job and then got hired as the Seahawks offensive coordinator like a week later. So that has to be a fun moving trip for him and his family. But the Seattle Seahawks, they kind of disappointed people last year, but it was more of them just coming back down to earth from the previous year. Geno Smith kind of was a little shaky to start. He finished the year strong, but he was a little shaky to start. The receivers were kind of quiet. The backfield was really quiet too, with the addition of Zach Charbonnet, and then you had Kenneth Walker get hurt. But it didn't have the explosiveness that it did the year before. And their offense was sputtering at times. The defense wasn't always all there too. I will say they have 2 shutdown corners, so they definitely don't need a corner in this corner draft. But I think they're gonna, this guy coached this kid at the University of Washington, as offensive coordinator, and everyone thinks I'm going Michael Penix. It's not Michael Penix. It's the guard from Washington. He's listed as tackle here. I see him more as a guard, though, at the next level. And it's Troy Fatunanu, University of Washington.
Love like hometown picks. They always feel extra rewarding, when they're kind of staying in the state. And like it kind of sounds chalky in a way, but when you're taking a hometown kid, that the Seahawks scouts have been at every one of these Washington games. So in a way, like they become more familiar with these local kids than they do with the out of state. So I almost trust it more in a weird way, even though it feels like it's biased because it's so close. But I kind of trust it in a way. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the whole offensive coordinator thing too just makes it even better, right? So
yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a team that, you're kind of looking at their offensive line depth, and they Laken Tomlinson at guard, Cross, depending on how you feel about him, Nick Harris, Bradford, Abraham Lucas. I mean, this is an offensive line that could use a little work, and they've got some weapons. And if you're going to give Geno Smith or your boy Sam Howell a little bit of run here, and kind of see what they've got into this new transition phase for the Seahawks, you need to load up on offensive linemen to make it work.
Yeah. Lucas and Cross, both the tackles, they're young, but they're good, and they've shown promise too. So I think they do have their future there. I think it's more the interior that they kind of need help with. So, I'm with you there. And Sam Howell in Seattle is a fun story, but that's also kind of why I don't think Penix will be the pick here. I would love it, but I just don't see it happening with them, getting Sam Howell. With what we think of him, I just don't see them not necessarily wasting a pick, but they don't need a quarterback like that where they need to fill some holes, either on the edge or linebacker or, interior of the offensive line like we did here. So 17, the Jacksonville Jaguars are on the clock.
Oh, my sweet, sweet Doug. He's probably on the hot seat. Man, I love Doug.
Yeah, he definitely is on the hot seat. Trevor is people are wondering if, that was a bust.
Oh, man, poor guy. By the way, the Celtics are about to lose to the Heat, if anyone's keeping track, which is awesome. But
I'm just glad the NBA and NFL gods didn't give us the Knicks game tonight, because that would we would have had to reschedule.
Shout out New York. So the Jacksonville Jaguars, I'm taking a look at this depth chart and this roster. Ronald Darby is listed as cornerback number 1, and I'm about to crack up. I mean, the corpse of Ronald Darby, who was signed off the street last year, and is bouncing around. And if he's your your DB1, we've got some issues. So if you're Jacksonville, I think that is a big time need. Obviously, I'm going to have them going Terrion Arnold out of Alabama. Again, kind of local, SEC kid. I don't ever fault any team from going that route. You're going to need to shore up that cornerback position, because I'm not trying to start this season with Ronald Darby as my cornerback number 1.
Yeah, I did not know that he was actually still in the league. I thought he had left last year. He was done. I didn't know he got picked up. But I definitely like the corner there. They could also go receiver, but Terrion Arnold is a lot of people's number 1 corner, so getting here at 17 could be a steal for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So now it's my Cincinnati Bengals here on the clock at 18. Lots of rumblings today about my Bengals with Trey Hendrickson requesting for a trade, and we already know T in the situation with that. He got franchise tagged. His agent came out, said he wanted to get traded. Then he came out and said he's going to play on the deal, and then he'll just go his way next year. We've seen this before too with Bengals players, as far as them, players trying to requesting a trade and the Bengals just not doing it and having them play out their contract or whatnot. So I kind of expect them to do that with T. Higgins. I think they'll get a deal done with Trey. I'm not sure if it's gone too far though, and his camp is just out of it. But to kind of make the blow, T. Higgins leaving in the offseason, or I could just break the news and they trade him on Friday after they draft this kid. We've talked about this school a few times, and I have twice now. It's going to be wide receiver, Louisiana State, Brian Thomas Jr. Now, this might be a little high for some people's likings, especially after the labrum story and issues have came out over the last week or so. The kid, tore his labrum in the Alabama game and played through it. Didn't get surgery. Probably not going to get surgery. But doctors say he'll be okay. Kind of mixed feelings around the league if he will be okay. But it's just it's just a shoulder. It's not like it's anything too serious. Not just a shoulder, but you know what I'm saying. It's just a torn labrum. It's not like anything crazy, right? So after it does heal, he will be good. This kid is an athlete. So I said that the previous I said that Malik was Jamar. I think Brian is more kind of Justin. Now, Malik is more Jamar than Brian is Justin Jefferson, but Brian Thomas is going to get open for you. He's going to get that yak yards. He's quick. He can run all the routes also like those guys. So they just keep plugging these guys out. And why not just have it be the Louisiana Bengals? You know what I'm saying? So the Bengals are going to go Brian Thomas Jr., Louisiana State University.
Yeah, I don't hate that at all. I mean, again, if you're the Bengals, and regardless of T. Higgins playing this year out, if he's on the roster, again, build strength on strength, man. Put everything you have when you've got Joe Burrow in that locker room, because we know what Joe Burrow can do, and give him weapons, man, and let him cook. So I don't,
Yep, they definitely will need help on offense too because Joe Mixon, they traded to Houston, and then Tyler Boyd they didn't bring back. So I think adding the receiver in the first round is a good idea for the Bengals. So yeah.
So we've got the Rams. We talked about this the last time the Rams have been picking in the first round.
Yep, and it was confirmed too in the chat. They said it was 2016, which I believe was our first mock draft. So this is the second time that we've drafted for the Rams, and I believe this is our 9th mock draft. So they've really traded out for almost a decade.
And this is kind of an interesting pick. They could go in a bunch of different directions. They're going to have Matthew Stafford maybe on the last few years. Last year they brought in Garoppolo as the backup, which is pretty funny. Their wide receiver room is solid. I think their skill positions are set. Do they look at offensive line to give Stafford a little protection? They lose Aaron Donald to retirement. This kind of feels like a little just like chalky and a little too easy, but you lose who could possibly be, one of the best defensive linemen in the history of the game. I don't see why you wouldn't just want to go replace him. We haven't had but one defensive tackle come off the board. I'm going to have him go Johnny Newton out of Illinois. A lot of people love this kid and have him as their top-rated D-tackle. 6'2", so I wouldn't say he's short, but, he's not like a super massive guy. He's sub 300 in terms of weight. So I'm going to have him go Johnny Newton. Not saying, of course, he's going to be the Aaron Donald replacement, but you lose a big-time key in your defense, and I don't see why you waste any time replacing him here.
Yeah, I love that. And it's not like Aaron Donald was tall either. He was kind of a shorter guy too. So, yeah, I love that for the defense and the Rams. They could go quarterback too, like you said, but I think they'll just kind of go best player available, fill a need, and move it on. Too bad for my boy Stetson Bennett. I don't know what happened to that guy, but he is like just got taken off of the earth or something because he was there and he got put on the non-injury football list, and I haven't heard anything about that guy since then. So it's crazy. Pittsburgh Steelers here at number 20. We're going to keep it offense and keep it boring and keep it on the line. I think they're going to go with Mr. Where is he at? There he is. Graham. They have him listed as tackle. I see him more as a center, but it is what it is. I just have the Pittsburgh Steelers going tackle, University of Duke, Graham Barton. Now, the Steelers obviously traded away Deontay Johnson. They traded for Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Our boy Mike Tomlin just knows how to win or go over 500, and this guy is just unbelievable. He has to be one of the greatest coaches ever. Also underrated coaches ever too, because he doesn't get enough credit, in my opinion. I could see them going corner here, but I think that kind of with the way the Steelers are, they're going to go offensive line and find a corner later that they can kind of develop and prove into their own guy. They also could kind of go receiver depending on how the board falls. Obviously, with Deontay getting traded and George Pickens is basically your only receiver on the roster. I mean, unless you want to talk about Calvin Austin, but I think they'll also address receiver later in the draft. So I think they're going to go offensive tackle or center here with Graham Barton.
Steelers, I love the pick. Again, we talk about I love first-round linemen. The Steelers, what a silly offense for them. I mean, Russell Wilson and then Justin Fields, and you're just like, whatever's going to happen this season is going to happen, but they're going to win. They're going to go 10-7.
I love it, and I hate the Steelers, Eric, because my draft theory is I always want to draft a quarterback, every year, not necessarily in the first round, but just to kind of see what I got and have some trade bait, right? The Patriots did it for years, even though they had Tom Brady. But so now you get Russell Wilson, who you're paying literally pennies. And then you have this young, kid in Justin Fields who was with a terrible franchise in Chicago. We could talk all we want about how good Chicago was back in the, long time ago with the Redskins, but it's just not, they're not that anymore. So now he comes to one of the greatest organizations ever, as one of the best coaches of all time. I mean, it could just turn this kid's career around, and Justin Fields could turn to that star that lots of people thought. And then you have Russell Wilson, who could be just a great backup, or you could trade him away too. So I actually love what they did. It's crazy to say, but it was very funny at first. You're like, wait, they did what? They're trading for who? Okay.
Bizarre. It's like bizarre world here for the
Yeah.
Steelers, but
I'm glad though that they realized Kenny Pickett wasn't it. Like we tried telling them, but they just
hey, that
you know.
Eagles Kenny Pickett, he might be it. Okay, you watch your mouth.
Okay, yes, I'm sorry. You're right. And the Chiefs Carson Wentz, because I'm sure Kenny will probably see as much time as Carson Wentz does in Kansas City. So the Miami Dolphins are up here at 21, which is actually an interesting team. The way that they could go both sides. They need lots of help because they had some cap casualties over the offseason.
Yeah, this was probably the most unsure I've ever been. I'm looking at the roster, kind of looking at the board where they're falling. This was just such a strange spot for them. I could see them at this point going best player available. I think there's a guy on the board who some people have as kind of their top tackle, top offensive lineman with Olu Fashanu out of Penn State. I think if you're the Dolphins, again, you don't want Tua getting hit. Tua is really good when he's got clean pocket, as all quarterbacks are, but Tua, especially when he's got time to throw, he's really, really good. And if you're the Dolphins, I want to see that continue. I don't think the Dolphins' offensive line is terrible. They've got some decent pieces with Armstead, Wynn, Austin Jackson, but I think just shoring up offensive linemen, going with the top guy on the board should be a priority for them. So I'm going to have them take Fashanu out of Penn State to start bolstering that offensive line for them.
Yeah, I love that. You got to keep Tua upright so he can throw the ball. Wouldn't it be funny if Xavier falls here? Like that would just be lethal. Having Xavier on one side, Tyreek on the other, Jalen in the slot, and then Devin A-Chain in the backfield. Woo, man. But yeah, I definitely love this pick and do think that this makes your roster better right away. He's a plug and play guy. I'm pretty sure he could play inside too if need be, but he'll probably put him out there on the left side. So now I get the best pick of the draft, number 22 here with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I could go lots of different ways too. It says a need is receiver. I guess they probably need a third one because, as we talked about, you need at least 3-4 of those guys. But I don't think they would go receiver here in the first round with the guys that are left. They could go A.D. Mitchell, which I like him out of Texas. But I think they're going to freshen up that defensive side, especially towards the end of last season. Well, Eric, that defense just fell apart and just was brutal. It's not the Eagles defense that we're used to. I wish I could find a Georgia guy here to put on the team because they love their Georgia guys. But I'm actually just gonna kind of pick a guy that I think just fits the city of Philadelphia. That's gonna be a great guy, whether you look at him at safety or look at him at corner. I think they're gonna go Cooper DeJean out of the University of Iowa,
who is bringing the white corners and white defensive backs back in style, by the way. I don't think we've had one since, a decade more?
Yes, it has been a while. I do want to mention Jackson Powers Johnson also is like Philadelphia Eagles too. That center from Oregon just feels like a Eagle to me. And obviously they lost Kelsey, so center will be a need for them as well, I believe. But the pick is Cooper.
Yeah, I don't hate that pick. I think the pick, everything is pointing towards defense for the Eagles. A lot of people are, as Howie does, are thinking he's already working the phones and seeing kind of how he's going to move up. I'm really excited to see what they do tomorrow. They're always an exciting draft day team. but corner's an absolute need with Slay getting older, with Bradbury just being awful last year. Fangio is in as defensive coordinator, which I really like. He loves his corners, so all signs are pointing towards them shoring up that defense. So yeah, I wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be too sad about that pick from a guy that, right, he can play slot, he can play outside, he can play some safety. He's really flexible. So yeah, like the pick. Appreciate that, Jacob.
Yes, yes, yes. Just hope Howie listens, right? Because remember that year that Justin Jefferson was in the draft? I'm pretty sure we had the Eagles draft Justin, right? What did they do that? What did they do that? Who did they draft?
I really don't remember that year. I don't recall. I'm not sure.
Jalen Ray. Yeah, I don't
really know. I don't really know who that person is. No.
Speaking of Justin Jefferson, the Minnesota Vikings are now on the clock at 23.
All right. So in our draft here, they've got J.J. McCarthy.
They do, yes.
And now they're kind of looking again. They could go a bunch of different ways. They've got a lot of needs. They need offensive line help. They need defensive line help, especially on the interior. Looking at the board, we've got some edge rushers that I think are kind of hanging out here that I wouldn't be surprised if they go earlier. I'm gonna go Jared Verse out of Florida State for the Vikings. Again, you're playing. You're coming into this season. We've got Jared Tillery. We've got guys like Jonathan Greenard, Bullard, Harrison Phillips, Ivan Pace at linebacker. Like, I don't love this kind of front seven for the Vikings. And if you're going to be competitive, you need a competitive front seven. So I think, and this guy, Jared Verse, a lot of people think he could go in the top 10, top 15, depending on how the board falls. So I think if you're the Vikings, get him at 23 is kind of a steal for them. So I'm going to have them go in there at Florida State.
Yeah, I think both those guys, Latadelu too, also could go in the top 10. It's just all these quarterbacks, offensive linemen, receivers. I think the league is going to just salivate over them and kind of wait for these edge rushers and kind of corners and whatnot. But yeah, a team is going to get a great player in Jared Verse. I actually love that. Even in Lateo too, as well. I like him. I'm coming out of UCLA. But the Cowboys here are on the clock, and I'm going to kind of look through and see what we have left. I think I know where I'm going to go, which is way off the board, but that's okay because that's why we're here. We can't have all the chalk. Where did they have this? We're going to have to go search for him. But, yeah, the Cowboys, Tony Pollard's gone in free agency. He's off to Tennessee. One of the line with Tyron Smith. My wife's gonna kill me. Tyron Smith went up to New York with the Jets. Dak Prescott basically could just up and leave next year if he doesn't restructure this deal and whatnot. I've heard that it is a real big possibility. He just feels like he's gonna go to like the Saints or the Seahawks next year. I don't know why, Eric, but it just feels like he is going to be in one of those teams. Or him and Sean Payton in Denver. I don't know. I just don't see Dakota on the Cowboys next year, which is kind of sad because I wish he would have been a lifer. And speaking about being on the Cowboys next year, Mike McCarthy, this is last year of his contract. This is Jerry Jones. If you don't make it to the Super Bowl or at least the NFC Championship game, Mike McCarthy has to go if you're Jerry Jones, right? What do you say about that?
Well, Jerry Jones, as temperamental as he has appeared to be, he is pretty loyal. And, the Cowboys don't love first-round exits, but they've been successful every year under McCarthy. I think he should be on the hot seat. I just don't know that he is. I mean, I think Jerry Jones is a little bit more patient than he would appear to be. So that's going to be a tough one. But a first-round exit, I mean, I'm thinking it's time for a new regime for Dallas.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Mike McCarthy also did just hire a new agent who represents a whole bunch of big people, Tom Brady included. So it'll be interesting if, they get a contract extension worked out, but, before, the playoffs or before that time even comes, right? But I'm going to go off the board here with the Cowboys. I think they need a little bit of help on both sides of the ball. Receiver could be in need here. Obviously, running back, but we don't draft running backs in the first round in 2024. But I think they're going to go offensive line and get some help, kind of up front for Dakota and for whoever is running the rock, if it's whoever it is. But they're going to go Kingsley Samatayo from BYU. I almost got it, Eric. Dang.
That's a tough one. That's probably the toughest one in the draft.
It is, definitely is. And I know this might be a surprise to some people. PFF have them way down there, but their grades are, as we know, not very good. But I've heard lots. This guy's name with the Cowboys, lots and lots. So I'm going to stick with it, and Kingsley will be the center stone around Dak Prescott for the next decade.
So, as we know, I despise the Cowboys with just about every fiber in my being, but I will hand it to Jones and company. They know how to draft. It scares me whenever they take kind of linemen in the first or second round because these guys have always seemed to pan out. So regardless of who they're taking, if they're taking linemen, I'm not going to love it as an Eagles fan. But, yeah, I don't hate the pick. I mean, again, we've seen the Cowboys at their best when they're dominated up front. When you're dominating up front, we see any team at their best. And I think if you're Jerry Jones, you want to see some more of that. So, again, I don't love the pick if I'm an Eagles fan, but if you're the Cowboys, you got to be happy with it.
So I think I did a quick count, and we're at 17 offensive players, which is actually unbelievable here with about 7 picks left to go. We're going to get the record. But, yeah, you're right. They definitely do draft linemen very well. And I'm going to give that to Will McClay, though, who's the man behind the scenes, who's this player development. He's the head of scouts. This guy really knows his stuff, and Jerry Jones and Steven will get lots of the credit, and McCarthy and whatnot, but it really is Will McClay, the brains behind it all. So I got to give him a shine. Every draft I do this to, I got to talk about my boy Will. One day someone's gonna steal him from Jerry, or that check must just be too good. But Green Bay Packers are on the clock here at 25.
This is another interesting pick. This team had a pretty good season. I think you saw some encouraging things out of Jordan Love. You saw some things you maybe didn't love out of Jordan Love. The offense it's kind of all over the place. They've got to feel like a bunch of B receivers. They don't have an A receiver. I could see them maybe trying to shore up. Do they like Keon Coleman enough? Are they okay with his injury history? But just look at the way the board is falling and look at
timeout. We're talking about a receiver for the Packers. We know they don't do that in the first round, Eric.
and they're not going to do it. Yeah, we always joke it'd be fitting for them to start taking receivers as soon as Aaron Rodgers leaves, but they're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You've got a guy here that a lot of people love, Nate Wiggins, corner out of Clemson. Again, Jair Alexander is awesome. Eric Stiggs, I don't know if I love that much on the other side for the Packers. But again, when you're in a division, when you're in just a league where guys are tossing the ball all over the field, you want corners. And Nate Wiggins sitting there at 25. He's some people's, top 1, top 2 corners. I think you're thrilled to get him here if you're Green Bay and start kind of adding to that cornerback and defensive back depth.
Yeah, I love that. And kind of to piggyback on the Green Bay Packers season last year, I'm pretty sure they're the youngest or one of the youngest teams. So they, had a promising season last year, and whatever you think about Jordan Love, this team could be scary. This division is going to be really fun with all these new additions. So I love getting a corner there in Green Bay to kind of go up against this Detroit offense. And, Minnesota's not scary, but also these new look Bears with Caleb Williams. So Nate Wiggins to the Packers is a great pick. We're just loving all of our picks. We have to, though, right? You can't not like a pick unless it's the Cowboys or Eagles pick. But I'm running up to the podium if this happens. Latu here for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It just seems like a perfect fit for Tampa Bay. They have lots of needs also. Baker, he did what Geno did 2 years ago, and we kind of hinted that he would under the same quarterback coach that Geno had in Seattle. He went to be the offensive coordinator in Tampa Bay. So Baker and company showed out. You had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin stay there, which was a little bit surprising to some folks. Some people thought they were going to get rid of one of them, or let one of them go or trade one, but they re-upped Mike Evans. He got a new 3-year deal, so the Bucks are ready to go and try and win this division again. I think they'll have a little bit more struggles, but they're going to go get Latu and help them on the defensive end.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Right, they had some guys leaving the offseason. I think that the way the board's fallen again, I think you're going to be able to get enough firepower offensively in the second round if you're Tampa. And this guy is someone that should be really high on everyone's board, and you're getting him at 26. So I like that pick. Now, second pick for Arizona.
Yes, I told you have all of them.
So second pick for Arizona again. This is, they've got their number one, hopeful All-Pro receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. You're looking at the board, and I'm looking at their roster here.
This is crazy.
Looking at the roster, and I don't love, the back end. I mean, Murphy Bunting, I think, is a good addition. Boutte Baker, obviously, at safety. Jalen Thompson is decent. I don't love the other cornerback with Garrett Williams, and their depth at corner is not great. And I think if you're Arizona, your second year with Jonathan Gannon as your head coach, you want to bring some more swagger to the defense. And what better way to bring swagger than draft a guy who goes by Kool-Aid? Take the kid from Bama that goes by Kool-Aid McKinstry. Bring a little bit of juice to that back end. Gannon's going to love him. He's a fiery guy. He's going to talk his trash. I think he's just going to be good for the team, good for the defensive back group. He's going to have some good guys to learn from. And I think the values here, a lot of people are linking Kool-Aid to the Eagles earlier in the draft, some of these mid-round teams. And if he's fallen to 27, I think you're going to be really happy if you're the Cardinals.
Yeah, I love that pick. A lot of people more towards the beginning of the year had Kool-Aid as the number one corner. Then Kings kind of went more toward Arnold and then Quinyon. But, I love Kool-Aid. And like you said, you need some swagger on that defensive end or defensive side of the ball with, you got Marvin Harrison coming in with Kyler. So offense will be good, hopefully. And then you got Kool-Aid to defend that back end there for Arizona. So you being a Seahawks homer, I don't like that pick, but I do like that there for Arizona fans. So we got the Bills on the clock here. And with the receivers left, I don't think they would go receiver here. I don't think they want to deal with another diva receiver. So I think they actually, if they don't get up to one of the top 4 or 5 receivers, I think they'll kind of just wait. I have heard lots of character issues with AD Mitchell, so I just don't see the fit there with Buffalo. I could see them just, pushing that to the side and giving Josh Allen a weapon or whatnot, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they may look to the defensive side of the ball, but this actually might be PFF actually has them up here. That's crazy. The surprise to some people, this guy getting into the first round, but if you can't get Josh Allen a pass catcher, why not get him a pass protector here in Amarius Mims? Now, this guy only played 8 games at Georgia, and we know that Georgia is loaded with talent, so that makes sense why he only played 8 games. But he's very raw, but he has, the talent and the size to be able to be an NFL left tackle for a decade plus. So why not just protect your wall with another wall on Amarius Mims here for Buffalo?
I don't hate that. Again, this is a team that you've got to feel good if you're a Bills fan having one of the top tier quarterbacks. And right, you could reach and kind of go a receiver. You think we lost Diggs, why don't we replace him right here? But it's a deep class, and we talk about it all the time. Shore up that offensive line. Georgia guys are kind of a proven commodity. So I like the pick there for Buffalo. And now we move to
your Detroit Lions.
Man, I probably get sad like once a week thinking about sitting there with my father, that big lead, what was it, 17 points, 21 points on the 49ers at halftime. And we're thinking, this is it. the Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl. They're going. I'm looking at flights to Vegas. I mean, it's going to happen. And in typical Lions fashion, everything, all good things must end, right, Jacob?
No, we stay strong and we keep going. Remember, like Denzel said, when you fall forward, Eric.
They stay strong and keep going. So what do they need in Detroit?
This is a commodity pick because Brad Holmes and company has crushed the draft the last 2 years. Like, you could go back to the Panay draft, but they have just crushed the draft. Last year with Swift, Jack Campbell, or not Swift, Gibbs, Campbell, and Brian Branch. Go ahead.
And Laporta, too.
Yes, and Laporta. I knew I was missing one or two. And then the year before, he crushed it, too. So this is a luxury pick. You can get best player available, whatever you want, Brad. I mean, it's all yours.
So I think here, and when you watched games last year, a lot of people were questioning how productive Aiden Hutchinson was. The numbers probably weren't as high as you'd want in terms of volumes, in terms of sacks, in terms of tackles for loss. The pressures were really good. He was getting double teamed all game long. And you look at the rest of that defensive line and you're thinking he's got no help. If you put Aiden on a team that had some guy, if you put him next to a defensive tackle that required, attention from a guard and a tackle, the guy would be, I think, feasting. And if you're the Lions, I think that's priority number one. Again, you're picking at 29, but a guy like Chop Robinson, I like out of Penn State. Get another guy you have to worry about on the edge. Make these teams bring tight ends into chip against you. Make them worry about both sides of the ball and not just whatever side Hutchinson is on. So whether they go Chop or they go defensive line, I just really think they need to address that with this first pick here. They didn't really do it in the offseason. They brought in Marcus Davenport, but they didn't really address the defensive tackle position. I could see them going there, but I think defensive line is where they need to go, and Chop Robinson is going to be my pick for them here.
I love that pick. And yeah, like you said, Aiden was getting double teamed, all year long, and that's probably why his production wasn't as high. So I love getting a compliment piece on the other side. So you can have Chomp and Aiden rushing the passer. That's a great pick for the Lions, and that's going to help you win those playoff games, especially against those 49ers to kind of get into Purdy's face and kind of mess with them too. So I love that pick there for the Detroit Lions. And I got the Baltimore Ravens here. If you ask them, they probably had a disappointing playoffs as well too. Going into the playoffs with the number one overall seed, I believe, yes, and Lamar Jackson just doing Lamar Jackson things, but they just fell short and they couldn't get over that hump. This is almost kind of a luxury pick. I guess these last like 5 or 6 picks kind of is because all these teams are very good. They were in the position they were because they're good, and obviously they're picking back here because they were good. So I kind of want to go this kid just so he gets picked in the first round and we, don't lose out on it. But Baltimore is always one of those. DaCosta, like, he's very good at this. Like, he knows how to draft and maneuver through the draft when these pockets of positions are going to dry up and when to trade up, when to trade back. We've seen so many offensive linemen go, so I don't think they can let any more go before they get one. You got to protect your franchise quarterback. I would have been saying this whole show, so I think I'm going to go tackle Oklahoma, Tyler Guyton.
Yeah, you're the Ravens tree. They tend to not get cute with these picks. Just do what works. Focus on the trenches.
Big school, right? A guy that started, a long time. The production's there. So my San Francisco 49ers are on the clock here at 31. I can't believe we're already through this. Time flies when you're having fun.
I hate the 49ers so much.
Me
I mean,
too, dude. The Cow.
like, I don't even want to make this pick just because I hate this team. I don't.
We can just end it there. I don't have to make. No, I'm kidding.
No, yeah, this is again.
Oh.
You talked about it, this is like kind of like luxury territory. You know, I've heard some rumblings like, do they want to? The Ayuk stuff is like getting weird with like his social media and like him tweeting about like X amount more days, and then like I feel like family members are tweeting about like him getting traded. It's like getting really, really strange.
See, unlike the Bengals, like they will have to trade Ayuk to get Ayuk's replacement, right? Because they're not getting that receiver. I mean, could maybe I guess, but there's two on the board. But you see what I'm saying? Like I feel more that if T Higgins gets traded, it's not going to be tomorrow. If Ayuk gets traded, though, it's so San Francisco can come up and get the receiver. That's how I kind of look at it.
Yeah. Yep. Gosh, this is probably the toughest pick. It's my last pick here today. I could see them just kind of reinforcing the defensive line. Honestly, they've got Leonard Floyd, Hargrave. They brought him from Philly. Nick Bosa is obviously there. They've got great linebackers. I'm gonna go with the kid out of your school here, LSU, and Mekhi Wingo. Without I'm not going to pretend to know a lot about Mekhi Wingo and like be scouting defensive tackles at LSU, but it seems like this scrappy kid that they're going to take, and he's going to be like a solid rotational player. And he's going to piss everyone off because he's just going to be good in his rookie year. And then, they'll lose in the conference championship and we'll all be happy about it at the end of the season. But I'm going to go with my final pick here for the 49ers, Mekhi Wingo.
Yeah, I hate that pick. I never like seeing my LSU Tigers go to the Niners. They don't usually draft too many, but yeah, does fill a position that you can never have enough of them. So get a big body on the line who's going to rush the passer, and he's going to be good against the run too. So you're Super Bowl champs. You're at 32, the Kansas City Chiefs. Obviously, we all know about the Rashid Rice incident, and Adam Schefter came out the other day and said he expects Rashid to be suspended for multiple games. So it could be 2, it could be 7. What does multiple mean, Adam? Come on, give us, a little more hint there. But receiver is going to be in need. I could just go AD Mitchell here and call it a day, but I'm going to kind of talk it through and see if anything else makes sense for the Chiefs here at 32. Wide receiver does dry up, but this class is deep, so there's going to be someone that you can find, but it's just like, what kind of guy do you want? Because all of these guys are different. Like, they all have a different profile, which is good and bad. I love this kid right here, though, Xavier Legit. That's not who I'm picking here, but speaking of our San Francisco 49ers, he's the next Deebo Samuel. So listen to that one there, fantasy guys, if you need a sleeper next couple months. But the Chiefs, they could always use help up front protecting their franchise quarterback in Patrick Mahomes. Most of the tackles are gone, though, that would be in this range. Could go the Arizona kid, though, and Jordan Morgan. It's probably just going to be AD, and I'm just talking to myself at this point, Eric. Talk to me about the Chiefs, and they have a good chance to repeat.
Well, of course they do, because they have Patrick Mahomes. That's annoying for the entire league. But when you're looking at the depth chart, I mean, they've got 8 linemen listed on their roster right now. 8. And remember, 5 of them have to start. So 3 backup linemen.
Yeah.
So they didn't do a lot of work in the offseason in terms of bringing guys in, which, again, you've paid Patrick Mahomes a lot of money. He's the best quarterback in the league. And, I don't hate the notion of them just kind of loading up and bringing a guy in to protect Mahomes. And we thought that was going to be a little bit of an issue this year. And for some reason, it just never becomes an issue in the playoffs, and they end up figuring out how to protect Mahomes and how to move him kind of outside the pocket.
Yeah,
But looking at the depth chart, yeah, I don't think that's a bad idea in terms of you're drafting here at 32. You're coming off a Super Bowl. Let's protect our guy.
yeah. You can never have enough big bodies, right? Those are the hard ones to find. Yeah, it's hard to find speed, but you can never find enough big bodies. I think I'm gonna go kind of out here. Peyton Wilson just seems like the perfect chief for some reason, but I'm gonna go out and go with Jackson Powers Johnson, the center of Oregon. I know center's not necessarily a need, but I think that they will just see him fall in here and kind of go best player available with a little bit of need to help the offensive line as well too. So wait, do they have Creed Humphrey? Hold on a second. This might not be. They probably wouldn't do that. Hang on, Jacob. Hang on. It's not in yet. Roger hasn't got the ticket. We might just have to go with dang.
They do have Creed Humphrey, Joe Thuney or Tooney, how you want to pronounce it, is at left guard, which is laughable if you've been familiar with his Giants tape.
Yes.
Trey Smith on the other side. I mean, I don't hate that pick too, because as we know, guys that played center in college typically have some swing guard kind of experience.
All right, he talked me into it.
It's going to happen.
Oregon.
We're going to make it happen tomorrow night.
Powers Johnson. Yeah, watch this be like one of the ones that we get. Wow, what a draft though. That was so much fun. I'm glad Eric wrote that down. Actually still is up here. I thought it went away. But kind of bring this up so you guys can see. That was so fun. I can't believe that we, got through that in under an hour and a half. Appreciate everyone coming out and watching this. Sorry for the technical difficulties and my mishap there, but we made it through it. You guys are awesome. You have anything else to say, Eric?
Other than tomorrow is one of the best sporting days of the year. It sounds silly because it's just one round of the draft, but we love it. That's why we do this every single year I think we started in 2015, if I'm not mistaken.
The Zeke draft is the first one, I believe, which I believe was 2016, which is the Jared Goff draft, the last time the Raiders. It's just so funny how it all comes full circle. But yes, I'm pretty sure we were on the back porch and Diana was writing the names. Is that correct? That you remember that way too?
Yep.
And then you took over that job. And
you got it all written out here, pal.
Yeah, we've been live. I think this is our third year doing it live. At least did we do it COVID year 2020? I'm not sure if we went live that year, but I know this is at least our third year of doing it. So it's just been fun and like he said, it's Christmas, it's 4th of July, and we don't do this to be right. We do just to talk through the scenarios and the things, because this is what these guys are doing in the war room, right? They have their big boards up and they're comparing this player to that player and stuff, and it's just a lot of fun to talk with you about this every year, Eric. And I hope we can get back together sooner than later and maybe break down the draft and how it went, and then we'll be right into the off season and preseason will be here, and it'll be a Super Bowl show before you know it. But I'm out. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you on the next one. Peace.